Oh my gosh, we're back again. Yeah, that me saying that just made me think of the Backstreet Boys, so we got to move on. We're moving on to talk about biomes. So we kind of talked a little bit about weather and climate in the atmosphere. So weather is sort of like the day-to-day change in whatever you're going to see, like rain, sun, cold, hot, whatever. And climate is how that weather plays out year after year over many, many years. So, well, what's a biome then? You might have, I know that in 8th grade you've seen these things. So, um, oh, sorry guys, technical difficulties. Okay, sorry, technical difficulties fixed. Okay, sorry about that. Remember, I don't have a video editor, like program or person, and even if I did have the program, the person, which would be me, is not going to really be good at using it. Sorry. Okay, this up, you could have just started a new video. I could have, couldn't I? But then you wouldn't see all this funny stuff. All right, so let's talk about biomes. So you probably have seen this, I'm going to guess, maybe in 8th grade, maybe in bio with me. Like if you had bio with me, maybe I've showed you biomes or talked about them. We're going to do a little project this week on biomes. So let's talk about what they are. You can see in this map here that depending on the region of Earth, we have different biomes. And certain ones seem to be found in certain places, like a tropical forest, like a tropical rainforest seems to be around the equator type area or within this little band of the equator. That hopefully makes sense because it has to do with what lives there, temperature, light, um, or like here in the Arctic, we might see the tundra where we have certain creatures living. It's very cold. So let's talk about what a biome is. Okay, in general, it's an area that's classified according to the species that live in that location. So we're looking at the sort of dominant species that live there, and that's how we classify these different biomes. But other things that kind of affect what a biome is, because like for example, you can have like, oh, let's look back for really fast. Like, well, mostly around here we have some kind of temperate forest, like deciduous or coniferous forest. Like up here might be coniferous forest. But we have like little, like just little brown bunnies that live here that also live up there, because I know because I used to live close to there. So we can have similar animals live in different biomes. So it can't just be animals. What else is going on with these biomes? Temperature, like range, so climate, soil type, light, water. They're all unique to these different places. They form unique niches. Remember biology. Remember that. So a niche is like sort of like the role a creature can play in an environment. So all these different factors can like make different niches where these different species can live. And some can't live in certain spots. Like you can't take a jackrabbit and put him in the tundra. He doesn't fit in that niche, even though he's like a bunny, just like an Arctic hare is a bunny. But that allows for specific species to exist and allows for scientists to define a biome. And biomes we'll see will either be like aquatic, like marine or freshwater, or land, terrestrial biomes. So you're going to kind of learn about all the biomes, and then you're going to kind of focus on one and kind of tell the class about that biome. So marine is like ocean. Marine is like saltwater. You can have other biomes that are aquatic, so like a river or a lake. So those could be defined as biomes as well, and in their own way. So what types of marine or ocean biomes are there? There's intertidal, where you have tons of nutrients. So that's like the tidal zones, where we're getting a mix of salt and fresh water. We call that brackish water. There's tons of nutrients there. We're close to the surface. So these are very productive biomes. They produce a lot of, they're high productivity. You can have a coral reef. Oh my gosh, coral reefs are so important. And guess what? With climate change and all the stuff we're doing, we keep wrecking them. Oh, and they're beautiful, by the way, in case you didn't notice, in case you never saw Finding Nemo. But coral reefs receive lots of light. The water is warm. They're high productivity. Actually, coral reefs can actually like help tidal zones and coasts not receive so much storm damage because they kind of absorb some of the storm damage. They're just great. I'm still at school, by the way, just in case you didn't know. Hey, are you in dress code? I'm watching. Make sure we got to take attendance today too. Okay. So anyway, coral reefs receive lots of light. And so that kind of helps define their biome. And you can imagine, you can picture the kinds of things that live in a coral reef. Nemo and Dory, so like clownfish, anemones, lemon sharks, turtles. And then we have our benthos. That's our deep ocean where they don't receive a lot of light. A lot of these are surrounded by these deep sea vents. Girl, if you want to see something really cool, look up some videos about deep sea thermal vents. Sometimes they'll be called black smokers or white smokers. And that's just these vents that let off all these different chemicals into the water. And they have all these really cool creatures. Really cool place. Really weird things live there. There's very little light, but tons of pressure from all the water above. Okay, these are where we see areas of high biodiversity. And biodiversity just means, bio means life, diversity means diversity, which is not an old wooden ship. Diversity is like differences. So there's lots of different types of life that live there. And if there's high biodiversity, lots of different types of living creatures, that ecosystem is usually like generally healthier. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it's less likely to collapse because they're all sort of supporting each other. Okay, just like as if you've got a lot of different people in your corner supporting you, you're going to have like maybe a higher chance of success at certain things. So let's look at our land ecosystem. So this is that map that I showed you earlier, just kind of blown up a little bit bigger. So we can see that the biomes are sort of banded together based on kind of where they are on Earth. So we see like deserts around the same area, around these, what we call the tropics of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Here we have another desert. So it has to do with light, temperature, prevailing animals. Though we haven't talked about these winds yet, have we? The prevailing winds in our atmosphere that bring either warm, moist air or cool, dry air or cold air to different parts of the earth and kind of help the climate stay what it is. So climate also plays a huge effect in what biome is with. So we have our tropical rainforest, lots of rain, you don't say. Tons of sunlight. It's always hot. There's tons of different plants and animals. Just like coral reefs, this area, which is high biodiversity, that we need. Oh my gosh, we need this. We need our tropical rainforests. They're being destroyed. That's actively being destroyed in Brazil due to policy right now, which is awful, really awful. I know it seems like, well, I don't live in Brazil. I don't live in the rainforest, so who cares? If we look at our atmosphere, you see just our air. We're connected to everyone. We're connected to everything. What you put in the air here is eventually going to go somewhere else in the world. So every living thing on this planet and every non-living thing is connected to us. So even if we don't live in the rainforest or near the rainforest, it is directly connected to us. So yes, it is important that it's being destroyed and that we actively work to stop that, because that's kind of bad. What about the savanna? That's like a grassland. So it's, when we say savanna, we're talking about like a warmer grassland, but we have grasslands around here, like right in the middle of our country in Kansas is a huge grassland. So, but a savanna, they'll have a dry and wet season. It's always warm, and the dry season, it's got frequent this is where I need an editor. They've got frequent fires in the dry season, and there's lots of herbivores. So you see these zebra and giraffes and elephants and things live in the savanna. Lions live in the savanna. So that's your mid-level biodiversity. So it's not as diverse as something like a coral reef or a rainforest, but there's still a lot of different plants and animal species that live there. And remember, plants and animals are not the only species on Earth. We've got our bacteria and fungi and protists, but they're just not as easy to see. And then we have deserts. Now, deserts can be, you can actually have a cold desert too, like Antarctica is a cold desert. But we'll just talk about hot deserts. They're very dry and very hot during the day, cold at night. We don't have a lot of biodiversity. There's very few plant and animal species that live in deserts. Like you can see these saguaro cacti. So cacti can grow in a desert, but like you can't have tons of different trees and plants and stuff. Really only like cactuses can grow there because they're adapted for that. You have small amounts of different types of birds and rodents like the kangaroo rat, insects, snakes, tarantulas. Okay. What about a temperate grassland? This is like the savanna is like in Africa where it's always hot. We can have a temperate grassland. That's like in our Midwest, like in Kansas. It also has kind of a dry and wet season. Winters are cold and summers are very hot. Just like in a savanna, you'd have frequent fires. In the dry season, you have lots of herbivores. So you can see it's like a cooler savanna. Again, like the savanna, it's mid biodiversity. It's not tons of stuff, but we see lots of different plants and animal species that can live there. Unlike the rainforest or the tropical forest, we can have a temperate forest. This is us. We live in a temperate forest. Depending on what website you use, we're either a temperate deciduous or a temperate coniferous forest. It depends on who you ask. It's kind of the same thing. But we see our 4 seasons, warm summers, cold winters, with lots of different types of trees, mammals, insects, and birds. And these are actually high biodiversity. Like, I mean, you can look and see all the different. You should go outside at some time. You should look at like the trees and grasses. They look different. Like they're different. Even if you look at grass, there are different species of grasses. In fact, I think most of the grass around here is probably like red fescue. I'd have to actually look at it. I'm not looking at it right now. But there's lots of different plant and animal species in forests. Now, if we're going to talk about a coniferous forest, not a temperate coniferous forest, but just a coniferous forest, like a pine forest. This is what you'd see in like northern Washington state. This is kind of like what you'd see in Canada. Sometimes it's called the taiga. This is usually much colder year round. Okay, it's drier, it's cooler. It's mostly like evergreens. There's mammals, birds, insects, but so there's like a middle biodiversity, but this is colder year round. So we don't live here. This is like, I swear Buffalo feels like this because it's cold all the time there, but it's not technically. So I think of like northern Canada. I mean, not even northern Canada, just Canada. I don't know. That's what I think of. Or like it makes me think of like don't act like you don't know. Like the Twilight movies. Remember all those? They were in Washington State. That's where I think of, where it's kind of gray a lot and cool. Then you have the tundra. This is like I think of like Russia, like up not I think Russia, I think of Canada. Whew, that's really cold. It's cold year round. We have this thing called permafrost, which actually, if you want to look up stuff about climate change, in some areas the permafrost is melting, which I mean, I love it being warm, but that's not good. The permafrost is like the layer of ground of soil that's frozen year round, and it's more solid, so it's harder for things to grow in, but it kind of sets kind of like the soil quality for this biome, and it should be frozen. You know what I mean? Like permafrost should exist here. So for plants, it's mostly these things called lichens and mosses. And a lot of the animals there are migratory animals that might come in the summer and eat up the things in the spring and summer when they're just starting up, and then kind of go away somewhere else. So it's low biodiversity. It's not a lot of things can live there where it's very, very cold. So those are a quick look at these different biomes. I'll try to find some more videos to post about different biomes and that sort of thing for you. What else did I want to say about biomes? Really nothing. You're going to be doing some work on biomes on your own. So you use the other videos, you can use this video, you can use notes that I give you to sort of explore about biomes, and you'll see like this really good web link that I'm going to give you about biomes. So you're going to kind of be working on that and thinking about biodiversity, and we're going to kind of think about how that plays into the atmosphere and what's going on with our air and what goes on with temperature and how do those things kind of interact to affect us living things. Okay, that's where like life and like not life kind of cross, is like things like biomes. So I hope that was a good introduction to biomes for you. Hopefully not too long. And I will see you later. Bye.